Hello student, welcome back to my channel English Literature, and today we are going to see The Old Man and the Sea, which was written by Ernest Hemingway, and this is very beautiful novella and its story is very amazing. So let's get going. First of all, we see about the life and work of Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Miller Hemingway was born on July 21st, 1899 and born in Oak Park, Illinois, and died in July 2nd, 1961, Ketchum, Idaho. And let's see about Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway is the world famous American journalist, novelist, short story writer, and sportsman. Economical and understated style, which he termed the iceberg theory, had a strong influence on a 20th century fiction, and his adventurous lifestyle and his public image brought him admiration from later generations. At the age 18, he joined the Red Cross ambulance driver in World War I in 1918, and he was seriously wounded and returned home. His wartime experience found the basis for his novel The Farewell to Arms, which was published in 1929. Then he joined that Hemingway went to Paris and he served as a correspondent for the Toronto newspaper Daily Star. And when he was in Paris, he joined a group of American and English expert writers that included F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ezra Pound, Gertrude Stein, and Ford Madox Ford in the early 1920s. And Hemingway became famous as a chronicler of the disaffection felt by many American youth after World War I and a generation of youth whom Mrs. Stein called the Lost Generation. And his novel The Sun Also Rises in 1926 and A Farewell to Arms in 1929 established him as a dominant literary voice of his time. Charles' style of writing was revolutionary at the time and would be imitated for better or for worse by generations of young writers to come. And after leaving Paris, Hemingway wrote on bullfighting, published short stories and articles. He covered the Spanish Civil War as a journalist and published his best-selling novel For Whom the Bell Tolls in 1940. And Hemingway produced most of his work between the mid-1920s and mid-1950s. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. It was his mastery of the art of narrative most recently demonstrated in the Old Man and the Sea, and for the influence that he was exerted in contemporary style. Then, for whom the Bell Tolls, he published in 1940. His work and life shows that he was interested in big game, hunting, fishing, boxing, and bullfighting. In his novella, he wrote about his years of experience fishing the Gulf Stream and the Caribbean. Then, Esquire. This is a story about a Cuban fisherman who was dragged out to sea by a great marlin, a game fish that typically weighs hundreds of pounds, and the shark had destroyed the fisherman's catch by the time, and he was found half delirious by other fishermen. And this story seems a seed for the tale of Santiago in The Old Man and the Sea, and his novel Across the River and Into the Trees, published in 1950, and that was failure. It was the first novel in 10 years, and he had claimed to friends that it was his best yet. And they did not find that. Okay, let's see next. Important features of the novel. That title is The Old Man and the Sea. Author is Ernest Hemingway. From novella, this is short story, but not a short story and not a novel. So it is a lengthy story novella. So genre is a parable tragedy, and the publication is 1952 in Cuba. Point of view is sometimes the narrator describes the characters and events objectively. However, he describes details about Santiago's inner thoughts and dreams. The story is narrated by an anonymous narrator. The narrator's tone is realistic, serious, and journalistic. It reflects his reverence for Santiago and his struggle. Tense is past. Setting time is the late 1940s. Setting place is a small fishing village near Havana, Cuba, and the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Protagonist or hero of this novella is Santiago, a fisherman, and the conflict is for 3 days Santiago struggles against the greatest fish of his long life, long desire. About the Old Man and the Sea, let's see here. The Old Man and the Sea was published in 1952, and it is his last word across the river into the trees was called as an unintentional self parody, and people began to think that Hemingway has exhausted his ideas. And Santiago's story was originally conceived as a part of large work, and including a material that later appeared in Island in the Stream, and the work which is Hemingway referred to as the Sea Book. And the was providing difficult, and when Hemingway received positive reviews of the Santiago story, known then as The Sea in Being, and he decided to publish it independently, and The Old Man and the Sea, published in its entirely in one edition of Life magazine, was an instant success. And the 2 days, the September 4th edition of Life magazine sold 5,30,000 copies, and the book version sold 153,000, and the novella was the top bestseller book and remained there for 6 months. And so that's why it is very fabulous book, and the success of this novel. And after that, this Old Man and the Sea was awarded in 1953 Pulitzer Prize and American Academy of Arts and Letters Award of Merit Medal for the novel, and played a significant role in Hemingway's selection for the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954. And this is amazing work, and Hemingway's significant work in his life, and as a law generation writer, he gave the personal experience, and that real experience to readers, and that's why it is a larger that's why we can see him a last generation writer. And let's see about the Old Man and the Sea. The list of characters, the Old Man and the Sea, is a Santiago, the protagonist of the novella. He was an old fisherman in Cuba. Manolin is a Santiago's only friend and companion. The Merlin, it is a huge fish. The sea, most of the story takes place on the sea, and Santiago is constantly identified with it and its creatures. Joe DiMaggio, although DiMaggio never appears in the novel, Santiago worships him as a model of strength and commitment, and his thoughts turn towards the DiMaggio whenever he needs to reassure himself of his own strength. Perico near appear in the novel. He won the Bodega in Santiago's village. The sharks, they are the deadly fish in the sea that are attracted by its blood. Then John J. Magro, Martin, Rogelio, Mako, Federico, Tourist, these all are minor characters which is appear in this novel, The Old Man and the Sea. Okay, let's see the summary of the novella, The Old Man and the Sea. This is very beautiful novel, and let's see the story of the Old Man and the Sea. The novel begins with an explanation of how Santiago, the old Cuban fisherman, has not caught a single fish in 84 days. For the initial 44 days, a boy named Manolin had accompanied the old man. Because of his bad luck, he is called as a saleo, and it means bad luck. Saleo means bad luck, and that's why that Manolin called Santiago that a saleo, because he didn't get last 84 days a single fish, and it means bad luck. So Manolin's parents do not allow the boy to travel with Santiago, and they order him to join another boat which catches many fish. The boy is saddened at the thought of the living old Santiago, and whom he admires as a father. The old man also misses the company of a young boy who used to help him. He often brought him food and was like a son. Okay, so their Santiago's and Manolin's relation is very close, and they understand each other. Okay, so let's see. It was not the first time that Santiago has had a stretch of bad luck in his fishing career. He tells Manolin that he once went without catching a fish for 87 days, but when his luck changed, now Santiago is quite confident and that he will succeed again because he knows a few tricks about sea and is still strong enough to land a really big fish. He feels hopeful that his luck will soon turn again. Some of the other fishermen makes fun of old Santiago and his bad luck. Other fishermen who know Santiago's real worth and talent and regard his situation with sadness, and the old man does not care for this criticism. On the morning of the 85th on the morning of the 85th day, Santiago plans to set out early and go far out into the sea. Before the departs, Manolin comes to wish the old man good luck and bring him coffee. Before it is light, Santiago rows his weather-beaten skiff away from the shore, starting his fateful trip. At his age, Santiago should probably fish close to the shore, but he ventures far out. His bravery is not the foolhardiness of an unthinking and blind hero, nor is it the last resort of the desperate man whose patience has run thin. After waiting 84 days to catch a fish, instead his bravery comes with the self-confidence. His alert mind and active body are fully prepared to face any contingency. Then Santiago is a sensitive person who loves mankind and nature. He sees different types of birds and feels oneness with them. He considers the flying fish and the dolphin as his friends. He thinks of the sea as a kind and beautiful and but a willful woman who showers both favors and curses when one least expects them. He is also a cautious and observant fisherman. He slowly and carefully puts out his hooks covered with the fish like a tuna and sardines at a different depths and rows. Santiago does not allow his past failure cast a shadow or his present opportunity. On the first day at noon, Santiago sees the birds in the sky and he too has come to feed on a fish. It is significant sign for the old fisherman because the bird has probably seen flying fish which are also eaten by dolphins, and the dolphins in turn will attract the tuna which attract the marlin, and Santiago wants to catch a big marlin fish before long. He hooks a large fish which seems to be a marlin. He wishes he knew its size so he could estimate what he is up against. And when Santiago tries to pull the fish in, the catch is so heavy that the line threatens to break and the boat almost capsizes. And the fish begins to pull the boat in northern direction. Santiago lets the marlin continue to tug, hoping it will tire out and come to the surface. And he is also waiting for dusk because the setting sun often attracts fish to the surface. At the sunset, the stars start shining in the sky, but fish still does not come to the surface or change its course, and Santiago prepares to wait out the night. Even though the big fish is taking him further from the shore and glimmering lights of the city Hemna, and Santiago began to think about the fish on the end of the line and they feel sympathy for it. Although he has caught many big marlins in the past, this fish seems different and special, and it knows to stay away from the shore and where it can be more easily caught. Then other fish start taking Santiago's bait, but he cuts off all the lines in order to concentrate on a huge fish. At times he wishes that the boy were with him, but he does not let the fact that he is alone in the sea worry him. Instead, he determines that he will kill the fish before sunset, no matter what happens. The fish does not come up the surface, so Santiago is unable to kill it before the darkness sets in. The night is calm and eventful. The second day is also without any major change in either the fish or Santiago's position. The fish is still showing as much strength, courage, determination, and endurance as Santiago. He continues to swim and tow the boat against the current, and Santiago hopes that soon the fish will turn into the current and prove that it is a string. And Santiago admits that he himself is beginning to feel a bit tired. In order to stay awake, Santiago has a steady conversation with himself, with the fish, and or with the birds that come to rest on the board. And suddenly, the fish pulled the line with such a strong, quick jerk, and that if Santiago were not fully alert, the boat would have capsized. When it is calm again, he noticed that his right hand has a deep injury in it and is bleeding profusely. He dips his bleeding hand in the water to stop the blood from flowing out, and he believes that both he and the fish are now hurting. Santiago wishes he could see the fish that he has caught, but it remains tantalizingly and beneath the surface of the water. As a practical man, Santiago knows that he will need both of his hands and his whole body in top working condition. If he is to master the fish and then return safely to shore, he is worried about the cut of his right hand and cramps in his left. He first tries to tend to his hurting hand. Then he orders to preserve his strength. He eats some raw tuna. While he eats, he worries that both of his hands are temporarily useless, one being cut, one having cramps, and both being used to help him eat. And he wonders what he would do if the fish jumped when his hands were ideal. And at noon, the fish comes up to the surface and moves dramatically and majestically ahead of the boat. And it is almost as the noble creature were performing a magnificent drama before Santiago to show him exactly that the giant big fish was a great challenge to him. Mali is more than 18 feet long with a dark purple head and lavender striped back and sides. Santiago's imagined that the fish weighed more than 1500 pounds. Let's see, student, that 1500 pounds, and it is not the first time that Santiago has caught such a huge fish, but it is the first time that he is alone, then waging a physical and psychological battle against a powerful giant. Although he marvels at the size and strength of the fish, Santiago feels that he has the upper hand because of his human will and intelligence. And though he is not openly religious, Santiago begins to pray, begging for help in holding onto the onto and killing the fish. Although the prayers do not his physical suffering, they encourage his mental tenacity. He declared that he will show the fish and what a man can do and what a man endure, and began to concentrate on holding on the line and the preserving his strength. As Santiago's left hand is still cramping, he uses the right hand to hold line, but it cuts and hand more deeply. The fish turns east of the north and still towing the boat, and while Santiago holds the line, the old man tries to ignore his tiredness and the pain in his shoulder and caused by the line. Instead, he thinks about lions on the beach and about Joe DiMaggio, the great American baseball player known for his supreme strength and courage. Both the images serve as the inspiration to him to bolster his courage further, and Santiago remembered the time he had been victorious in a game that had been tied for more than a day. Then, as the sun begins to sink below the western horizon on the second day, Santiago wonders what the night will bring. Thus far, the fish has not alerted its course or changed its depth for long. Therefore, the line remains as taut as ever in his right hand. With his left hand, Santiago catches a dolphin which he immediately eats, and he criticizes himself for having come out to sea without salt or lime, thinking the dolphin meat would taste better with either. And he also reproaches himself for not drying out some salt from the seawater during the heat of the day, and feeling a bit refreshed After eating, Santiago counts his blessings and his right hand is healing. His left hand is no longer cramping and his legs are strong. Moreover, still feels that he has a great advantage over the fish, which has a hook in its throat and an empty belly, since it has not eaten in 2 days. Then Santiago begins to admire the giant fish, feeling it has showed great dignity in its bearing. He feels that the people who will eventually are really not worthy of such a marvelous creature. With such thoughts, the old man goes to sleep for about 2 hours. It is the first rest he has taken in 2 days, and Santiago knows that sleeping is necessary if he is to keep his head clear. As the third day dawns, the weather deteriorates. Santiago predicts that there will be a hurricane before long. The contest between the old man and the fish also grows more intense. Santiago is extremely fatigued and cramped return to his left hand. In truth, his whole body is racked with pain, but he convinces himself that pain does not matter to man. Santiago thinks that the first must also be feeling pain, for it has started to circle. As a result, the old man increases the strain on the line and hoping that the circles will become shorter. He dreams of fish coming to the surface close to the boat, so close that Santiago can kill it. And the old man sees the fish on its third turn and again admires its size and beauty. He keeps his harpoon ready, hoping that the fish will soon come close enough for him to kill, and preferably by striking its heart and not its head. After several failed attempts, Santiago successfully injured the great fish just before noon, and when it is still, the fisherman passes a line through its gills and mouth and makes a noose around its tail and another round in the middle. He then tries to fish to the boat. Feeling victorious, Santiago prepares to go home, and Santiago is unaware of the presence of shark and that have been attracted by the blood of the giant fish. And he catches and eats a few shrimps and trying to renew some of his energy. Then he catches and eats a few. He then sees the first sharks and attacks them with his harpoon. And unfortunately, he loses the harpoon in the battle. As a result, the shark began to bite off large chunks from the fish, and the old man makes an improvised harpoon from his oar and fights all night to defend the giant fish he has caught. And it is, however, losing battle during the night, and the sharks devour the entire fish. And by dawn, only the bare skeleton is left, and sad in pain, Santiago departs for home with the skeleton and tied to his boat. And Santiago reaches the shore very tired after carrying for his boat. He begins to climb hill towards his hut. He is so weak and tired that reaches he reaches the hut and falls on the bed and falls into deep sleep because of the storm that fishermen have not gone out. I see the huge skeleton of the fish, admire its gigantic size, and feel pity for the old man whose incredible efforts have been wasted. And they do not understand that Santiago has really won a victory in catching the fish. The old man has showed a grace under pressure, man's supremacy over his circumstance, and his ability to withstand terrible odds. Manolin goes to the hut to see Santiago, kindly bringing him coffee. The boy cries when he sees the old man in the bleeding hands, and the gentle Santiago comforts him. Together they plan to go fishing again, and Manolin leaves Santiago alone so he can sleep, and the old man and see a dream of the lions on the African beach. Hope so, all of you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you really like this story. And please read this real story, which is written by Ernest Hemingway, and this is very fantastic and very sentimental and tragedy of this novel. And I humbly request you to read it in English and enjoy this novel. Thank you so much for watching this video. So if you like this story, or if you like this video, so leave your comment in our comment box and subscribe it, share to your friends, and thank you so much for watching.